Hey there, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Your Station One podcast. Let's get started. And we got a great one for you tonight, folks. We are going to be looking at Stargirl. That's right, the CW series that lasted 3 seasons. And a lot of folks feel like maybe could have gone even further. But with all the changes going on with new ownership at the CW and such, they decided to start cutting back on original series. And sadly enough, we didn't get a fourth season. So oh well, hopefully the character will appear in other media and such, and movies or other TV shows, because there's other universes. And and so we'll talk all about it, and we got a great crew here to do it tonight. Let's of course say hey to Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
You ready to talk a little Stargirl?
Yeah, always. I mean, it's a show that I was watching and eagerly awaiting when I first heard that it was going to happen. I still have, now that it's been over for a few months now, I still can't believe we got what we got in the series. It's pretty amazing, actually.
It is pretty cool, and to think about that, we got a JSA up on screen, and it was
this is the closest
pretty
we've
awesome.
ever had to a JSA show.
Well, exactly. You got some JSA in the Black Adam movie, but
Yeah.
it was awesome. They opened the show, and
We already
this,
covered that. We're not going to talk
well,
about
exactly. No, we're not going to talk about that
that.
ever again. But it was neat because this show was also about a lot about legacy, and it was a ton of fun to do, and geek out moments for anyone who followed the Justice Society, or the Silver Age and Golden Age of the DCU. We also are joined tonight by, of course, Joe Crowe.
Hello.
How are you this week, Joe?
I've been stuck on the station for 7 whole days, and I've read all of Mike Gordon's comics that he left up here, so I'm up to date.
That lasted the 1 hour, and then what else did you do?
Yep.
Okay,
They've had a devilish time getting off the station, so
I tried on all your hats, Mike. So
I'll make sure.
might want to wash those.
Yes.
Were
the bathrooms out again too? And we are also joined, of course, also from last week. Kevin is back from the Flopcast.
Also from last week. Yeah, this is the Team Devil reassembled.
That's right.
We did the Devil show just a week ago, but yeah, great to be back. I'm an old school DC fan, so happy to talk some Stargirl.
When you think of devils, you think me and Kevin, and also when you think of teenage girl superheroes, me and Kevin.
Oh, yes, all the way. I totally think of that.
Last week summoning the devil, I think you actually have sold your souls, and your penance is, of course, to remain on the station.
Of course.
Got it.
Yeah, it's working out great.
Right. So next week we'll be talking about, no, we'll see. We'll see. But it's going to be a great conversation tonight, folks. This is going to be a good one. And we will spoil the series for you folks. We're going to be going all the way from the first episode all the way to the final. So if you haven't seen it yet, please go ahead and watch it. You're going to be in tech for some really amazing stories.
Wait until after maybe wait until you finish watching us, then go watch it.
Yeah, because you can
stop watching.
Then you can go
now.
and say, "What the hell were those guys smoking?"
Exactly.
Basically. Okay, that totally makes sense. So it's gonna be a ton of fun, folks, and you know what? It's gonna be a great time to talk to everybody. And please leave us feedback at ourstation1.com. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you guys thought of Stargirl. Did you think it was canceled too early, or do you think it was at a good point? And after Eclipso, and then of course the Ultra Humanite and Shade and Icicle and the ISA, it's just some pretty cool stuff they had in the series. So I'm going to be very curious to see what you guys thought. So definitely give us a write, and let us know what you guys thought. Also, let's say hey to our Patreons tonight. Our patrons are our lifeblood here on the station, and you know what, we've got some great stuff planned for you guys over the next year. And we got some episodes that are going to be exclusive for you guys. Now that we're doing 2 episodes a week of Earth Station 1, we're going to start giving you guys some exclusive material coming your way. And we've got a lot of stuff planned for the, folks over at our Patreon. And you too can subscribe to our Patreon by going to patreon.com/ESO Network. Check it out, folks. It's definitely worth it. Also worth it is our friends over at Tifosi Optical. Tifosi Optical is a sunglass company beyond belief. They are an amazing company, and you know what? They have sunglasses for all seasons. You can actually design your own glasses. That's right. Pick your own colors of frames, lenses. It's pretty all cool. And even if you have a prescription, you could do a prescription so you can actually wear pretty cool stuff and actually be able to see if you have like astigmatism like I do. So definitely check it out. And you know what, folks? All you have to do is go to fuzzyoptics.com, and as a way of saying thank you, if you put in the coupon code EarthStation1, you get 10% off your whole order. Not just one piece, your whole order. Check it out, folks. Tifosi Optical. Okay, Mr. Mike, are you ready to go to the Midwest and go visit the folks with the Justice Society of America?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. I'm surprised we've never covered Stargirl season by season. So we're going to try to talk about the series as a whole. So there's a lot to cover here, but of course I have to start with the start of the character. And the start of the character, Courtney Whitmore, was created in 1999. By Geoff Johns and Lee Moder, part of the JSA run, I believe then. JSA All-Stars, Stars and Stripe was her first appearance in the comic, where she was not Stargirl. She was a Star-Spangled Kid. She only became Stargirl afterwards, about 4 years later, 2003, when she actually took on that mantle and got the staff. But prior to that, she was sort of a legacy character. Geoff Johns in his run with JSA had really, and James Robinson before him, had really established legacy as being an important part of that title. And so she was one of the, I don't know if she was the first, but she was one of the many legacy characters introduced, and one that really took off. She was one of the first ones, I think, that had her own comic series. So there was a lot of buzz around her. She's a character that has meant a lot to Geoff Johns because it's based on his younger sister, Courtney, who was only 18 when she died in 1996 off of the TWA Flight 800 explosion. So he created this character in honor of her. And when the show was announced, the series was announced for the CW, this is in 2018 now, Geoff Johns was right there. He wrote the pilot. He was a co-showrunner. He wrote many of the episodes of the series. I think, he has been a consultant throughout all of the CW stuff and a lot of other DC properties that are movies and whatnot. But I think this is the most personal. This is the one where I feel like he has the most hands-on because the character is so important to him. Now, when the series was announced, Kevin, did you have familiarity with character? Were you excited?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been on board for all these CW shows, and I've watched all of them. Several of them I kind of dropped off of, the ones that just seem to just keep going on and on and on forever. But I certainly gave all of them a chance, and yeah, I was certainly looking forward to Stargirl. I read the Stars and Stripe comics that introduced Courtney, and I was certainly a big Starman reader, the 90s Starman series, and I go back to all the old JSA comics of the past, so I was familiar with most of these characters, and yeah, I was very much looking forward to it.
What about you, Joe?
Oh, same. I was a big I've always thought, because my entry point into the DC universe was the JLA JSA team ups.
Oh, those were
So
always
now
fun.
I gotta have at least 30 superheroes in each comic. And because of that's where I first saw Starman, the original, or the JSA version, and just fell in love with the JSA and read everything I could get with them in it. So let me just say that it's super fun to be very excited for a show and then to have all of your favorite characters murdered in the first 5 minutes.
I know. I was like, ah.
Now,
it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
It all turned out okay, more or less, not for the JSA, but for the show. But the show, I was super excited. And when the show debuted, it was on an app on your phone. There was no other way to get it except for the DC Universe app. Same with Teen Titans and Doom Patrol, those shows. And then it migrated to the CW, where hopefully 1 or 2 more people were able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But fun. I was so excited to go. Now, Stargirl herself had appeared on Smallville and on Legends of Tomorrow, and in one episode of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. So she'd been out there, probably, like you said, Mike, a lot to do with Geoff Johns, but cool, because she's fun. And but when the show started, your original question, yes, I was all in.
All in. Yeah, because it was not only Geoff Johns was co-showrunner, but it was another Berlanti show. And as Kevin pointed out, the consistency of the quality of those shows, you can argue, your mileage may vary, but there's pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
But Mike, what about you? Were you initially pretty excited about this series?
Dude, of course I was. It's like, it's almost like as much as I love eating or sleeping, I was excited about this show.
Yeah.
It was like I had been a fan of the JSA from when I was a little kid. It started with the crossovers with the Justice League, and then starting to become a fan of the Golden Age, and then into the reboots they did, starting in All-Star Comics, then to Adventure Comics, and then through All-Star Squadron and stuff. And then when they announced that they had a new entry into the Starman universe, with Courtney and Pat, because Pat was, of course, Stripesy to the Star Spangled Kid from the Seven Soldiers of Victory. And, the miniseries was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but I enjoyed the character. And I followed her, when she joined the JSA, and basically all the way through. I probably followed the character all the way until the New 52. And then, when they made her into like a Hollywood, Britney Spears type character, Christina Aguilera.
Oh no, they did.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
They dialed that all back.
Yes, they did.
They
did. So when they announced that they were going to do it, because we did see her in Legends of Tomorrow, and we did see her in Smallville already as part of members of the JSA, and it was interesting to see. And so then they announced the series, and I was like, oh, this could be interesting. And then they did the cameo with the JSA and Stargirl in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, when they showed all the different Earths. And I geeked out when they said, oh, on Earth 2, and it was just, and they showed the characters, and it was just like, and then they killed the JSA off in the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I was on board right from there. And I literally loved the series from the beginning, and it didn't wane and everything all the way through the last episode. And I'm actually really sad there's not going to be more. So
yeah,
indeed.
It does seem like it was cut a little too short, because it looks like they were building a number of things to keep going.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think they got much heads up. I know that they had to film a couple of scenes for the last episode, refilm them in order to sort of make the finale make more sense and less open-ended. But for the most part, they didn't know going in when they were filming initially the third season that it was going to be their last. So, But like you
It's
said,
an
Mike,
interesting.
CW's gone through, and the Warner Brothers and everything has gone through a lot of weird stuff, and this is just one of those things.
Oh,
The
exactly.
series, it's sort of this weird middle ground between the CW shows and the DC streaming shows, in that it's family friendly. It's appropriate to show on regular TV on the CW. However, it only got 3 seasons, but they were short seasons. These are like
Right.
13 episode seasons, I think, which is like Flash and Green Arrow. Those shows, they'd be like full
20 something.
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20
Exactly.
something. So it's 3 short seasons. So you actually got a lot less than you would have gotten out of 3 seasons of some of those other shows. And at the same time, and also not being connected, aside from the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, Stargirl was separate from the other CW stuff.
And it's
Mhm.
interesting too, because they included the John Wesley Shipp, Flash, in the series.
Oh, sure, at the very
Yeah,
end.
which was
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
And so because he appeared a couple times in the 3rd season, and it was interesting to see, because it's like, okay, does that tie in now to Flash and the whole thing with it? So it's interesting.
I choose to believe that it does.
Yes.
Sure,
I choose to believe that's
It's one of those things that if you think about hard enough, it's going to just hurt. So don't, because the continuity with the CW Arrowverse, and especially when they were seeming like with the Crisis thing, they were going to, with the crossover, they were going to tie things up and make things like one Earth. And then the shows
They
were more
didn't.
separate than ever.
Mm.
But this show is definitely separate from the Arrowverse. I don't think, if outside of a couple of things during the entire 3 seasons, I don't think there's any connection really with any of the other.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
No.
Yeah, and it's a
So-
multiverse, which is fine. And
Sure.
especially having Flash be the character to crossover is appropriate, because the Flashes are able to hop around the multiverse a little more efficiently than others. So it's fine.
So now I think also one thing that's cool about the show is, as I'm watching it, is that it's filmed largely in Georgia. And so the small town that they're in is I think Dallas, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. But it's that downtown area that you see over and over again.
Nice.
And so yeah, it felt like, as a person who lives in Georgia and has done some stuff in the film community as well, it's like kind of cool to see that show and go, hey, this is a cool thing that we're producing that's produced here. That's pretty nice.
I mean, it looks like it's such a like
Blue
perfect,
Valley, that's right,
idyllic little town, like that
Yeah.
downtown shot. I didn't. That's a real town, because I thought
yeah,
that was
real
a
town.
set.
It's a real town.
The theater and the diner.
It's dressed up, of course, but it's a real,
Sure.
yeah, it's a real, yeah. I've never been down there, so I can't tell you exactly what's changed and what's not. But I would imagine
a lot of supervillains do live there. But
that's why I don't go there that often.
I mean, you don't want to get frozen.
Yeah.
Do you?
No,
well, maybe
No,
you do.
exactly.
I don't know.
All you have to do is look southwest from Marietta and you see explosions happening. You just stay away from that area. You just know better.
Of course, the big thing when it was announced that this was going to be a series is that, I think the first casting announcement was Breck Bessinger as Courtney Whitmore, aka Stargirl. I was not familiar with Breck before this. But I'll tell you what, right from the first episode, I was sold. I thought she actually enhanced the character more than I had read her in the comics as well. But I think what she brings to the character made me appreciate her even as a character even more. I don't know. How did you guys feel about Breck?
Oh, right from the start, I thought she was perfect for the character. It was believable.
Yeah, certainly looks the part.
Go ahead.
Looks the part, certainly. She's got the right look and carries the character well, and brings. She's not like a light, goofy, bouncy teenage girl. She brings a weight to the role that you need there. So I thought she was.
Yeah, there's this show requires a lot of the pretty young actors that are on this show. There's a lot of emotional stuff that they have to do on, and it's not like a lot of other shows based in this time, but based on characters of this age. Many of those actors are 30. And these guys at least appear to be a lot younger, and I don't have their real life ages memorized, but that's a failing of mine, and I apologize.
Joe,
I think
how could
that's
you?
for the best, Joe. I think
Dude,
that's a good thing that
seriously.
you don't know their exact ages.
I'd be a little worried about that, Joe,
Yes.
if you did.
But there is a lot of deep emotional stuff that the kids on this show have had to do, and Breck Bassinger is top notch.
Yeah,
No, I can't disagree with that. It's funny too, because the enthusiasm she has, well, all the kids on this show, the enthusiasm they bring and everything, and most of them probably are in their early 20s, and
yeah, and it's going to be neat to follow them throughout their careers, because we're getting them at the very beginning, most of them, and that'll be fun to see. Well, to see them hopefully do more stuff. Hopefully, if it was up to me, they'd be doing more Stargirl. But
I will point out that Breck was born in 1999, in May of 1999. So she's currently 23. So she was a teenager for about the first season of this, right? And
still counts.
But to your point, Joe, I think she has to do a lot. The show is basically on her shoulders. There's an ensemble, to be sure, but she's right there, and she's playing a character that most of the other DC shows try to edge up their comic book characters, make them slightly edgy, give them sort of darkness to them. But I think it was important for her character to be, the one that believes in everything good. I mean, certainly she's challenged, her beliefs are challenged, but she always sort of believes in doing the right thing, and that's kind of hard to portray in a convincing way, especially these days, I think.
Yeah, you expect all teenage characters to act like like they're portrayed in everything else today, but
everything else on the CW.
Yes, indeed,
very much so.
But optimistic, positive.
Yes,
this
idealistic.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and she portrayed all of it. It was like almost like pouring from her from the very beginning.
Yeah,
and
now since Breck was an unknown, we get two sort of veterans joining the cast right away, with Amy Smart as her stepmom.
No, she's her
stepmom.
No,
that's right. You're right. Her mom. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Her stepdad, right, is Pat Dugan, played by Luke Wilson. Did any of you have any sort of thoughts about the Wilson brothers and what Luke would bring to this or not? Were you worried about it? Were you not?
I was interested, but I've seen Luke Wilson, this is not his thing. This is not something he's ever done before. So to step out of his bubble of his magnificent, what is the name of that movie that he was in with Gwyneth Paltrow? And
Something About Mary? No.
Anyway, those kind of movies. I cannot even think of the name of it now, but I remember Stargirl, and he played Stripesy, who is just one of the silliest of the Golden Age heroes, which I love about all of Stargirl and all of the JSA. In this case, the teenage boy is the hero, and some old dude is the sidekick.
Well, exactly. It was his valet who was his sidekick.
But Luke Wilson he's just a TV dad in this who happens to have a suit of armor. It's Tremendous.
And I love that in the very first episode where, you know, the Justice Society is getting their butts whipped by the Injustice Society, and, you know, Starman is dying, and, you know, Luke basically, you know, as Stripesy was like, "Oh, should I get you to help? No, I'm dying. You need to, you know, take the staff, but don't use it for yourself," you know. And it's like,
Yeah.
and it was just
Even
like,
then.
I know. Even
Yeah.
then, he was like being demeaned and everything, and it was just like,
Mhm.
oh, poor guy, you know, because you would think he would carry on the mantle as Starman or something.
Nope.
Nope.
I do apologize, because I did get him confused with his brother Owen a lot, who was in Wedding Crashers and
Yep.
a lot of the kind of silly comedies that I didn't really have a lot of respect for. Let's put it that way.
Royal Tenenbaums. That's
Yes.
Royal
Yeah,
Tenenbaums. 2 years after Brett Bassinger was born. That's the kind of movie that Luke Wilson has done up until this point.
yeah. Well, he does work with Wes Anderson a lot.
Yeah.
Owen does.
Of course.
And I think
Not
Luke
that there's
does
anything
as
wrong
well.
with that.
Nope.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But
yeah. So this is the first time I'd really seen Luke in something like this. And yeah, you're right. He plays like a great TV dad, which it does also feel like a throwback to 50s, 60s family TV.
Well, exactly.
80s.
And like I said earlier, this series is a lot about legacy, but it's also a lot about family. And you don't have to be a mom, dad, sister, brother. You can have stepbrothers. You can have a stepfather. You can have, you know, friends who are like family. And this is what the show is all about. And that's what made it amazing.
Yeah, I think Trey Romano played Mike.
Oh my gosh,
Pat's son. He's probably was the weak link for me. First season I was not really a fan. I think they did better with him as the season progressed, but he was like the weak link of the show. But it became apparent that, to me anyway, about halfway through the first season, that this was not going to be merely a Stargirl show. This was going to be a new JSA show. And was that exciting for all of you as well, Kevin?
I could not believe how much they gave us that was so rooted in DC history as far as all the teams. Yeah, going into starting with the death of the JSA. Okay, well, that's how we're going to get started. But yeah, then to start building a new JSA was exciting. But then when they got into Seven Soldiers of Victory,
oh my gosh!
Oh, when they brought the Shining Knight in, that was so awesome.
Yeah, heck, man.
Because I did not see that coming. I did not think that they were going to try to explain the backstory of two different older superhero teams of the past. That Starman was connected to both of them. That's a lot to lay on a CW viewer who doesn't have a pile of long boxes the way we do. That's
exactly.
They went really deep.
They went
on this kind
hard,
of
and I loved it.
The interesting thing.
In casual conversation, in casual dialogue on the show, they just mentioned the Crimson Avenger.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, right.
Crazy.
Crimson Avenger. Yeah, Seven Soldiers of Victory, which was sort of like the other, like there was All American Comics, right? Had the JSA. DC had Seven Soldiers of Victory, which never as popular, and just such an oddball grouping of Shining Knight and Crimson Avenger and Green Arrow and Vigilante, and that's where Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy were.
Yep.
And what's interesting about what they did in bridging Seven Soldiers and JSA is they made Star Spangled Kid into Starman, and they seem to have, for as much DC history as they've brought into this, they also removed the Knight family from the story.
They sort of.
Well, they did mention
Ted Knight. There's
him.
no Jack Knight, did they?
They didn't mention Jack, but they mentioned Ted because of that. That's he true. Created the staff.
Okay.
And everything.
So I forgot about that.
So yeah, they did mention him.
It was just a throwaway comment, but yeah, because I think Stripesy at one point goes, "Well, that's a story for another time." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, stop what you're doing and tell me that story."
He took that from the doctor. It's okay. Oh, we'll
Yeah.
talk
He's like,
about that later.
You have to wait till season 4. Oh, sorry.
Son of a.
Yeah. Because it was that original Star Spangled Kid, then became Skyman at one point, but never became Starman.
No,
But here
because he's the one who formed Infinity Inc.
Yeah. They
And
kind
then-
of
that's another thing
combined.
is they,
Which
they
we get
go,
to.
they go into Infinity Inc. in the show as well, essentially.
Yeah, what the
Yeah.
heck was
Bringing in-
that? Oh my
Bringing
gosh.
in, Jade and Obsidian,
Yeah.
and
Mind
Brainwave Jr. and
blown.
like a lot of these characters, a lot of that second generation after the JSA.
when
they did
season 3
Infinity Inc.
happened and they mentioned Alan Scott and then his old-timey ring appears
Right.
on the screen, I think I was just all of Twitter, just akimbo. Could not even handle myself at that point.
Oh, when they introduced Jade and when she was coming for the lantern, it was just like, I was just like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This was just, it was
and
so cool.
They're juggling so many characters at this point that like we only got a little bit of Jade and we only got a little bit of Obsidian,
Right.
Right.
Shining Knight.
Mhm.
Like they're touching on so many things that
Well,
there's
that
only
was,
so much room.
they were supposed to do a spinoff of Infinity Inc. And that went down.
Yeah,
the
you
tube
could kind of
so
tell
when
they were leading into that.
Yeah, because they introduced Mr. Bones, and they also introduced a few other of the characters, which in that Infinity Inc. episode that they did in season 3, they introduced some other of the characters that would have been part of Infinity Inc. at the school or whatever that it was. I called it the torture house, but that's okay. But
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah, but it was interesting too, because you got in the first season, you had Wildcat, you got a new Hour Man, and it was just awesome to see, them working. And you did get a Brainwave Jr. for a little bit.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it
Mhm.
was just awesome to see that you were getting this. And they kept on hinting at Johnny Thunder or Jakeem Thunder with the pen.
Oh
and
yeah, the first
everything.
time Mike mentioned his friend Jakeem at school, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was
there
like,
we go. Here we go.
yeah. Like just me and Kevin and Mike Gordon and like maybe 4 other people were like,
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
another
They're like,
such a
oh, I know where they're going with this,
in season 3, after touching on Seven Soldiers and Infinity Inc. And I loved when Jakeem and Mike tried to form their own little team in season
Right.
3. They called themselves the
The
Young
Young
All-Stars.
All-Stars. I love
Yes,
that.
And I was that's another pretty obscure
Another
DC
one.
team. That was like the
Yes.
post-crisis version of All-Star Squadron, essentially, was Young All-Stars.
So so we've talked about all these like legacy and comic characters references that this show is like dropping on us on a regular basis that's helping us that's making us geek out. I will say for me personally, in the first season, I enjoyed it a lot. But I'll tell you what, that last episode when they sort of hint at the introduction of both Shade and Eclipso, I could not wait until season 2. Like I was like, as good as season 1's been, these two things, these two characters are ones that I cannot wait to see. And I will say season 2 is my favorite season because they did not drop the ball on either. I thought Shade was so good.
Shade
and Eclipso is one of the best villains in any DC thing that's happened to me. Like the whole season was like a horror movie. The way they did it, it was so good.
Shade stepped right out of James Robinson's Starman comics.
Yes.
Oh, extremely so.
And Eclipso looked exactly like he did in the comics.
Oh, of course.
I mean, they didn't change anything. Oh my gosh, he's got pointed ears. Oh my gosh, he's got a purple tunic. The whole thing.
Oh,
oh my God, his last name is Gordon.
Yes.
But no, you're absolutely
No
right.
relation,
though, Mike,
I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Says
tease
a lot.
that
Explains a lot about you, Michael.
the season 1 ending double tease of Eclipso and Shade, I was delighted by as well, and even more so Shade, especially because Shade was so tied to the
but you
Starman
also
story.
got Starman popping up
Sure.
at the
Yes.
end of the
Yes. We
Sure.
got the
that season.
return, the promised return of the Joel McHale.
Yeah.
Right.
Starman.
And it's interesting
Uh,
too, because the only thing I had ever seen Joel McHale on ever before that was either Talk Soup or Community. And
Sure.
it's like,
And
oh,
this
he's
was
going to be a
another-
superhero.
Yeah, this was another cast against type
Yes.
type of deal. Just like Luke Wilson, this is not dramatic superhero stuff is not Joel McHale's thing.
No.
But he was good. He was
Yep.
really good.
especially in the last season when you know something's off with him, but you can't put your finger on it. And then when it's revealed that he's not who he says he is, then Joel really has to like
Amp it up.
really put in an effort and amp up his performance. And I thought he nailed it every single time.
Oh yeah.
I can't disagree with that. No, that
Yeah.
it was.
I mean,
he
because
was-
he's playing the ultra humanite being Starman.
Right,
And
he's
it's just like, what?
he's playing a villain who is also impersonating him at the
Yes.
same time.
Performing a character, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean was just layered.
I did like that little twist how they made the ultra humanite, because if you read the comics, you knew he became the white gorilla
Yeah.
and with
Yeah.
and everything. And to throw that was Dragon King, and that ultra humanite actually was in Starman. It was like, what? You
A
know,
lot of
Tremendous.
switching around happening right at the very end. It was what? Wait, who's who now? What are we?
Yeah, getting
exactly.
whiplash.
You almost needed the the scorecard for it. But
I needed the who's who.
I thought the first season it was great to have the Injustice Society as the bad guys
Mhm.
and
Sure.
everything, and then to amp it up the second season, having both Shade and Eclipso, and
Mhm.
I loved how they made Shade gray. He was not good, he was not bad, and that was right out of, like Joe said, it was right out of the Robinson run of Starman.
Yeah,
I
And-
like the
became
way they
such a-
tied their powers together, because I don't think I'd ever seen that in the comics before.
No, they
No,
never.
I don't think so.
Right.
Eclipsos and Shades, but they both operated in sort of this darkness that it kind of made sense that they were linked in some way.
Mhm. I like that a lot, and I am shocked not everybody in that town knew that Courtney was, was Stargirl.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, yeah, that's superheroes. Is
yeah, exactly,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Look
And
at that girl with the little blue mask and the giant mop of hair that's exactly like Courtney's. Who is that? We have no idea.
Who
We
could
never
that
know.
possibly be?
and how come that poor high school gets torn apart almost every season?
Well, it's like Sunnydale, right? That's what if you have a superhero show take place in a high school, that high school is going to get wrecked.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It didn't seem to be, though. I mean, it dealt with a lot of teen issues, I think, but it wasn't like a Buffy series. It wasn't like a series that dealt with high school stuff in a superhero environment. It seemed like much more focused on like superheroes stuff as well as relationships, especially with family, whether it's
Yeah.
found family or blood family. Like it seemed like that was the crux of the show in all 3 seasons.
In fact, when they did go sort of the CW teen style route, I think that's where it was sort of a misstep. I think for me, at least, I never bought into the Courtney and what's his
Cameron?
name, Icicle Jr. relationship.
Cameron.
Yeah.
Courtney
I
and
just could never.
Cameron.
I could not
Cute.
stand that kid the
No.
whole way, with that weird, inhumanly deep voice and just brooding. So much brooding.
So much brooding.
Way too
Oh,
much
yeah.
brooding in season
But
3.
now his
Especially
mean
the-
grandmother, hilarious.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes.
evil.
I thought they were going to give Ludafish the whole time. Here, have some food. And she was just evil. And then when she killed the art teacher, it was like, oh,
Come on.
yeah.
It's just the worst.
Hasn't he been through enough with Eclipso? Come on.
Yeah.
I know, right?
He was back for like one scene and then nice.
I know.
What
it was sad.
other characters, because we don't have time to go over each one individually, but
Yeah.
we'll start with you, Joe. What other character really made an impact for you as far as whether they are an original character or whether they are an adaptation of something in the comics that was brought to life? What character really won you over in the series?
Mike, the son.
Okay. Okay.
In the comics, he's not really, he's a kind of a non-entity in the comics. He's just kind of the little turd little brother, you know, who
Right.
the little jerk. And he's that in this show too, but there's a lot of other stuff going on, and he's really funny. And the crazy thing is he's kind of doing a Luke Wilson impression, which to my mind, I'm like, does Luke, who you work with, know you're doing this? Because he kind of has that yeah, Dad, I think that's what I'll be doing today. He kind of has the voice, and that may be how he actually sounds, but I don't think so. Anyway, dug it. And his stuff with I like Jakeem, but they took all of the angst of Jakeem from the comics, and he's just a good kid. He's and really kind of a relief, because poor Jakeem went through it in the comics, and on the show he's cool. He just happens to have the pen, you know. And
but he gets beat up by his sister quite a bit.
He does get beat up, yes.
Yes.
But those two kind of on the outskirts of the whole thing were always a positive for me. The villains, all the villains, the gambler as with the Colonel Sanders accent was just top notch. That was
Gambler was right off the comics page. That was just perfect.
Oh, I loved what was it? The Huntsman, and actually no, it was the Sportsmaster.
And
Huntress.
My gosh, yes. As just the weird neighbors.
Oh God, yeah.
Tremendous.
frenemies. Come on.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, Joe. That I think the Jakeem Thunder stuff was so fun, and just even the trying to get the wish just right, and having to figure out how do we phrase this so that the genie's going to do what we really want. And
I loved when they delivered the Chinese food from China.
it made for such crazy visuals and silly things to happen, and everything's going to go wrong. And yeah, the Jakeem, and then the Jakeem Mike Young All-Stars team was always really fun. Seth Green was very funny, always doing the voice of
well, it was
the Thunderbolt.
It was Gaffigan at first.
Yeah, it was Gaffigan at first.
I thought it was Seth Green.
No,
it was then Seth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they hired Gaffigan, but he just didn't have enough time to continue on the series, so they brought in Seth Green to do it.
See, it's been so long, I forgot about Gaffigan. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, he was like it was when Jakeem was first introduced. When the pen was first introduced.
Yeah.
Man, that was a prop that we kept waiting to see active. Like she grabbed the pen or whatever, and it would sat in her room for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes, and you're like, what the pen?
Exactly. You're like, there's the pen.
Yeah, and that's a character that's through most of its history is was a comic relief type of character, going all the way back to the Golden Age, and so it was appropriate that was really one of the most fun characters on the show.
I will say, like I said before, I think Mike was for me the weak link of the first season, but I did like his development, and so much so that in the third season, one of the things I really enjoyed was him and Jakeem kind of having this sort of like, it was almost like John Hughes 16 Candles kind of like adventures, like weird science adventures. Like, it really got that vibe from them.
Sure.
And I would have liked to
having a crush on the older.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Poor
and
Cindy.
I could really relate too, because man, Cindy Berman, whew, okay. She's a little older, so I feel okay saying that. The actress is a little Meg DeLacy is a little older, so I could feel better about saying that. It's still kind of creepy, but I definitely understood where they were coming from. The
character of Cindy Berman, and really all of, I would say more so than, in my opinion, any of the other Arrowverse shows, they went deep on all the villains. And the villains were a little more memorable than pretty much any other villain, in my opinion, on the other, because it seemed like always a struggle on the Flash to get a villain. And in this first season of Stargirl, there were like 10.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many,
but they kept on eating their own a lot of times. Like the
yeah.
icicle ended up killing the wizard and a couple
Right.
others. And it was interesting too,
And
because
the brief appearances of CGI Solomon Grundy,
yeah,
top notch.
Right.
Solomon Grundy
Yep.
was awesome.
I
Yes.
think the CG work in this on Solomon Grundy on the first season with Solomon Grundy and with Stripe
Yep.
were top notch. I mean,
Mhm.
every time they came on, I was amazed at what I was seeing. I thought they looked great. Maybe not so much the quote unquote ultra humanite in the gorilla, like in the gorilla from the third season. I thought looked a little weak
Cheapy.
as far as the CG goes. But to your point, Joe, I think with the other shows, Arrow and all the other ones in the Arrowverse, they would have a big bad each season, and they would
Yep.
fight different other characters throughout the season. But it was like really about the big bad. And this one, it was a solid story that they were telling throughout the all 13 episodes, and you were getting different villains. They were all teaming up, and so you were learning about them as the show gone on, and it was a different style of storytelling for them, which I think really enriched the whole show.
Yeah,
and it was interesting too, because like with Cindy, you actually got to see her character evolve through this whole series.
Right.
With all of them.
Yeah.
All of them are different, I think, in the third season than the first season. Except for, I mean, Courtney's got a lot more that she's been through, but she's still basically core the same person.
And I think she's a stronger character by the time you get to the end of the third season.
Yeah. Her
than she was.
optimism and her idealism is almost reinforced.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly. And I think that's what, they even played on that, because that's how Starman was able to get the staff from her. And
Right.
because, she was like going, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for this and everything. And then, of course, by the end, when she realized it was the Ultra Humanite, it was like, oh, I am good enough for this. This is mine and everything. And that was pretty darn awesome. And so her character was awesome. I also like Beth a lot.
Yes.
You saw a ton of growth with that character as Dr. Midnight. It was awesome to see. Oh God, I was starting to get tired of the parent situation with that. But
parents were a little goofy.
Yeah,
a little too goofy, perhaps. But yeah, she was.
They
great.
were that stuff was super dramatic in the first season. Like every parent relationship was in the first season of Stargirl.
Oh, Yolanda's parents and everything. Yeah. But Yolanda's
I like the goggles, the Dr. Midnight goggles being the super high tech, the Google goggles essentially, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, original Dr. Midnight, he can see in the dark.
Yeah.
he can see.
He can see in the light, and even though he's blind, he can see in the light, he can see in the dark because of the magic goggles. But yeah, so it makes a lot more sense to have an effective character just be all interneted up and speaking with the original Dr. Midnight, and
tremendous.
That was very effectively done. We get the Iron Man's eye view of things, information popping up in front of her up through the goggles, that kind of thing. And such a fun character, such a cool character, a strong character who grew over the course of the series.
Oh yeah,
so Beth was a favorite.
Yeah, it was interesting because when Beth first started when they had her introduced, I couldn't see her as a superhero. I thought she was just gonna be the comic relief or the brains behind everything.
Yeah, or a guy in the chair, like she stays behind and calls into them with information.
But by I loved in the third season. Oh, activating combat mode. It's like
oh my gosh.
It was like, so it was just awesome. And she gave that poor man a heart attack, almost, but was able to save him also at the same time. So yeah, she was a great character, and I loved how they went through the addiction storyline with Our Man and everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They touched on all that, which was awesome, because it gave Rick a proper storyline, because he was a jerk at first, and he pretty much was a jerk the whole time, but
brooding as well. It was Rick and Cameron, that they could have had a brood competition, I think. A lot of brooding.
Oh yeah, and that's
I'm more thoughtful than you are.
That's what I loved about, when he was going up against Cameron, because, who could brood more, Cameron or Rick? It's like, who's the moody artist more, and everything. And it was great to see, though. And I loved how, they got the pointers, and they had to learn to become the heroes. And, how Yolanda had the guilt about killing Brainwave. And,
And
that was such a great storyline and everything. And then the whole thing with her parents, and her parents never forgiving her for what she did and embarrassing her family. And
yeah,
but it was, of course it was Cindy's fault,
of course.
because Cindy was the evil one. So it was just a ton of fun, and the characterizations were great. And I loved, Amy Smart's character as the mom. She just wasn't to sit at home, scream at, oh, what's going on, or having the wool pulled over her eyes. Oh, I never knew my daughter was a superhero. No,
Yeah,
she
and
was
it
fully
just
aware of all that.
unlike the typical superhero mom or the typical TV show mom, like on Buffy, I guess is the first one that comes to mind. She was like, okay, here we go. And that was it.
Turns out my new husband has this crazy superhero backstory that we're all caught up in now. All right.
Yeah, we're just like, okay.
Has this living stick living down in the basement, and
Yeah.
so it's awesome. And there's so many great characters that they introduced, and I love the series. It just is like every episode I was like, okay, what are they going to introduce next, or who are they going to, or
They're
reference?
so there was like what you were saying, Mike Faber, well, and Gordon, but
Yeah.
and also Kevin. I don't want to leave you out, but
we're all Mikes around here.
A lot of Mikes. We're going to have to do another gathering of Mikes at Dragon Con this year. But there's so many years of comics that they pulled from, microscopic bits of arcana that they made into big storylines in this show.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never read any of the comics, you still get a crazy detailed show that created it's one thing we know the source material, but they didn't rely on the comic knowledge to create Blue Valley and all the people in it. It was it was a nicely but Blue Valley and all the people in it were kind of yeah.
But it was interesting. The movie theater always had a Nathaniel Dusk.
The theater marquee. What a treat for DC fans.
Oh, that was
even
so awesome.
Deeper cut.
Oh, big time. It was just
so
like
deep.
They did, like, I'm trying to remember some of them. I know they did Nathaniel Dusk in the past season. The Haunted Tank.
Yep.
Was on that marquee. Mark Merlin. There was the magician. Mark Merlin was on that thing.
Yeah.
Strange Adventures. Once it just said.
Yep.
Did they do this might have been in one of the other series that starring Rita Farr, I think, was on one of the marquees.
I think
that might have been on one of the other
from
shows,
Doom Patrol. Nice.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because just how tied in they went, and all the little Easter eggs they posted was just so well done and everything. It was if you were any kind of comic fan, or not even, you were like, oh, that has something to do with the DCU,
yeah,
and everything. I always was trying to look at the pictures with the 7 Soldiers of Victory to see if it was, the arrow if it was actually Stephen Amell in it. Yeah, that would have been funny.
Maybe at some point they could have done something. Certainly they had other ideas. I think even though they did wrap everything up, they do sort of imply a lot. The way that the 3rd season ends, it looks like they've got plans for everybody, and plans for them as a group to continue. I will say that I am, and Mike and I have talked about this before, and I'm probably of the minority here, but I did not appreciate the last scene of the series with Shade and Flash. I thought I thought, this is Courtney's show. It should end with Courtney. Like it should end.
Yeah.
Like Stargirl should get a chance to end her own show. And I thought, bringing in Flash from out of nowhere, just because I just thought that was not a cool stunt to do with Courtney's last episode and last scene of her last episode. But that's me. Obviously they imply that there's a lot of things. They kind of hint at maybe some of the storylines that were to come with some of the adventures that they were going to do. Is there anything that you kind of regret that they didn't get a chance to do?
Oh, big time. Oh, big time.
I think eventually they could have done what they did with Shining Knight, and they could have met the rest of the Seven Soldiers.
Yes,
Sure.
I think that's the one that comes to mind as well. This
It would have
bringing
been-
back all of them, yeah,
It
or
would have
some
been
way.
great to see the vigilante or see,
Yeah.
and it's not the vigilante from Peacemaker, folks. It's a different
Completely
vigilante.
different.
Nope.
Yep. And
Nor the vigilante from Arrow.
No, exactly.
Indeed, it's
Exactly. That's very true.
a lot of mileage on that name in the DC universe.
I cannot believe we are in a time where I'm like having to say like, hey, Stargirl has been featured in live action 3 times.
Yeah.
Vigilante has been
Well-
featured in live action like multiple times. Like all these characters that
I
I grew
would've-
up with
I would have
are
loved to
been
see
brought to life so many times.
Exactly.
what they would have done with the 4th season, because I read an interview with Geoff Johns, and he revealed what they had already planned. And one of the plans for the 4th season was going to be a new Injustice Society, but run by Johnny Sorrow. And
Oh,
I think
Alright.
Johnny Sorrow was definitely on the table as well, like to bring back or to do something with.
and they were also going to do more with
think-
the Infinity Inc. characters that they
Sure.
had
Yeah, because there's a
introduced.
bunch more characters from Infinity Inc. that they could have
Goodness.
gotten into.
did I mean, yeah, that was in the Infinity Inc. episode when they showed briefly the members of Helix. I'm like, is Roy Thomas isn't dead, but he's spinning in his grave, I think, when that happened. But I know I loved that. I mean, just the deep pulls for every Easter egg.
Oh,
This is
God,
the
yes.
kind of show that I feel like we would do, because everything would be an Easter egg about something else.
Of course.
Mhm.
And that was the cool thing, because like when they've shown, like even in the first episode, when they showed the JSA headquarters, there still was Dr. Fate's helmet. You saw all these different, hero stuff. And it's like, oh, are they going to do that? Are they going to bring in Hawkman or Hawkgirl or,
That's
would-
another thing. They mentioned all those guys,
Yeah, of
including
course.
Dr. Fate and the Spectre,
yeah,
which
Yeah.
would have been tremendous.
exactly. Have the Spectre, hey, bring back some of the dead characters. Poof,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's comic books. Nobody stays dead. Come on.
No, no.
Yeah. And I did want to find Sylvester's brain, so.
Well, they left it open that it was still out there, right?
Well,
So-
they actually said they rescued him in that final scene.
Oh, right.
with
Right.
Shade. So it's interesting to see, and I love the series, and I wanted to see it continue. And I know Stargirl is supposed to be appearing in Titans this season.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, but I
Like
don't.
Breck
I-
is or no?
Breck
it's a
is, but
version of her.
Breck is, but she's not the Courtney that we know. It's the Stargirl of the Titans.
Oh,
Okay.
she's going to be so depressed
Oh, of course she is.
Yeah. It's
She
gonna
won't
be
be. She
Breck-
won't be a full of light.
or angry,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
nothing else. Those are your
she'll be
options on
she'll be
Titans.
full of rage. And she'll curse a lot.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Duh.
And she'll probably have sex with Hawk.
Oh.
I hope not, because he's dead.
He is dead. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, I don't think that's stopped anybody
Yeah.
before.
That's
No,
really,
come on.
really, it has not.
Hawk is
It has
busy
not
being
on
John
Titans.
Reacher now. Come on.
That's true. That's true. I have not seen this season of Titans yet, so that's on my agenda, but I have not done that yet. But as far as Stargirl goes, we will conclude with this. Just some last words about like the legacy of the show, whether or not you think it's going to hold up enough to warrant people watching and coming to it on its own, or if it's just probably going to be overlooked and underrated. Kevin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's hard to say. Like, is this something that people are going to continue to discover? There's just the 3 short seasons, and I guess to some extent it might depend on, are they going to leave it on HBO for the foreseeable future for people
We don't know
to check
that.
out there? Who knows?
We don't know anything that's going to be on
Yeah,
HBO.
so that's
Yeah.
that's a question: is how available is it going to be going forward for people to discover? And there's just so much that, so I can certainly see it being lost in the shuffle in the
Indeed.
long
Yeah.
term. You know, as you can say, for many, there have been so many of these DC shows, and not all of them are going to be continually revisited. This one, because I've been listening to the way we've been gushing for the past hour as old school comics fans, there's so much to recommend and enjoy about Stargirl, just with such deep ties to the comics. I mean, I wouldn't even say that I loved this series. I liked it a lot, and there's a lot to really like about it. I don't think it was as good as it could have been, but
Mhm.
it certainly held my interest more than
Hmm.
any of the other current CW and DC shows. This is the one that I stuck with.
Yeah. Because concurrently with catching up on Stargirl, I was also trying to catch up with Doom Patrol, and Doom Patrol is super different and
yeah.
good in its way,
Oh yeah.
but the opposite of of Stargirl in,
Yep, that's a whole
in a
other
lot of
thing.
ways.
But then
And
even
A lot
in
more
the
cussing.
world of CW, there was another DC high school girl superhero show this past year in Naomi.
Right?
Yeah.
Naomi.
yeah, and I made it through that, and it
Yep.
was Stargirl's way more enjoyable than Naomi. And
You made it through the rain like Barry Manilow.
yes,
Nice.
That is
but
awesome.
there's so much of the Arrowverse, and my hope is that we're not done. Like, at some point there's more interconnected DC superhero TV shows in live
Mhm.
action, and I think we'll get there eventually. But I don't want. My hope is that the Warner Brothers, Discovery, all the other stuff with the CW stuff doesn't overshadow the accomplishment of the Arrowverse, which was 5, 6, 7 interconnected continuities, and I would say hundreds of episodes of DC superheroes in live action. Unprecedented.
Yep.
And even
Oh, yeah.
Marvel couldn't make this work.
Oh no.
Right.
And-
Right.
Yeah, for as much as I feel like some of those CW shows have gone on too long, and eventually a lot of them, it felt like a chore for me
Yeah.
to keep. There's 6 more episodes of The Flash piled up that I got to get through now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I would always keep reminding myself, when you were 11 years old, could you conceive of what
Of there
you
being
have?
5 series on at the same time.
Yep.
Mike, what about you? Do you think this is a series that despite everything, you can recommend that people should go and seek out and watch?
Oh, very much so. I definitely think it's for the first time in a long time, it's not a brooding superhero show.
Yeah.
It's a positive superhero show. It's a show about legacy. It's about family. It's about positiveness. And I love that about the show. You don't have the negative, and I wanted to see that on more shows. We started getting that a little bit when Flash first started, but Flash has just turned into a show angsting, and when is Thawne going to return? That's pretty much it. And I thought pretty much this was great for that, and this was a show that a whole family could watch. I couldn't say Arrow or any of the like Doom Patrol or Titans I would want to watch with a kid.
Oh, certainly not Titans. No.
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 And not Doom Patrol.
No,
No.
definitely
Or
not
Doom
Doom
Patrol,
Patrol.
no.
No.
A lot of
So,
questions.
well, even Arrow, I wouldn't have kids watch.
Arrow was
because-
pretty dark. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so no, I definitely think this was going in the right direction, and I like how the creators who helped create the characters were involved with this.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and
Sure.
that
Between
was
Geoff
a true
Johns
plus.
and James Robinson.
Yep.
Also,
Exactly.
or James Dale Robinson, as he's billed on TV. I
Exactly.
assume
True.
there's
That's
another.
true.
There must be another guy named James Robinson, like in the Writers Guild.
Yeah.
So he had
Exactly.
Yeah.
to add the Dale.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
and that guy's like, man, I wish I created a teenage superhero.
Exactly. So yeah.
No, Mike, I think I think you're right. I think the fact that it's the 3 short seasons, it's in its favor. I think the fact that they did get to at least close out the series is in its favor. It definitely like is something that people can watch, and then 1, 2, 3 done, the story's done. Sure, we would hope for more. Would we ever get more? Probably not. We don't know what James Gunn and Peter Safran have in store for the DCU going forward, but we're pretty sure that it's not going to include this show and a lot of other CW shows. A lot of I think Berlanti just signed another deal though with Warner Brothers, so who knows what
exactly
what he could bring to the table. He needs at least I think 11 series going on at the same time in order to sort of just be alive, keep alive.
Yeah,
right?
just to even be able to sleep at night.
He's
Well,
like
exactly. Talk
a
about
gerbil on
massive
a wheel.
ADD, folks. Come on.
Yeah. But I do think that one of the things I think this show is as a legacy, not only does it bring a lot of cool stuff that we've talked about, DC legacy, DC Easter eggs, DC characters to life, but also I think it's a really nice tribute that Geoff Johns can look at regarding his sister and say, like, this is something cool that came out of that. This was a nice tribute to her for that.
Yeah.
And I hope we see them in sometime in the future. It would be nice to see something in this universe again, but I don't have high hopes for it, but I don't think that should mean that people shouldn't check this out. Exactly. I think 2 of the series that were short-lived, and maybe it's to their benefit, that were produced here in the Arrowverse was Stargirl and Black Lightning, and I think both of those are definitely worth checking out if people can get a chance to do so. So, Oh, very cool. Well, thanks so much for celebrating the series with us, guys. We will be right back, and we're going to close out the show.
Cool. All right. Real quick for YouTube listeners, because we've got another episode coming soon, so we got to
exclusive video content
exactly right now. So what JSA characters, this is going out to everybody, do you wish we would have seen on the screen that we did not get to see? Or that we didn't
easy for me? Sandman. I am desperate for a Sandman series of some kind, and I would have loved to have seen their take on it.
You mean like old school Sandman with the mask?
The gas mask
no.
on there.
With the gas mask, yes.
Or do you mean like the 90s Sand, who would like turn into sand and stuff?
Well, they were going for that for this.
They even mentioned Sandy.
They mentioned
Sandy.
But I would have loved to have seen what they would have done with Sandy, with the Sandman legacy. The fact that they did what they did with all the others, Green Lantern and everything. I was like, I trust these guys to do something cool with Sandman. It might not be my preferred version of Sandman, which is Sandman Mystery Theater, but it would be pretty interesting and cool, I think.
To see Wesley Dobbs mentioned at least.
Yeah. And this was
old Wesley Dobbs still having nightmares or whatever, and and maybe a good take on Sandy, because I never could really get into Sandy in the comics for some reason.
Yeah. No.
And the never the Green Lantern stuff, of course, with Jade and Obsidian was super neat, but this is only the 3rd time Green Lantern has been in live action. There's Ryan Reynolds, of course, Legends of the Superheroes, Kevin.
yes.
And this, and that's it. Because I don't know that they'll ever finish the Green Lantern HBO series now or ever that they've talked about for 20 years. But
because that series also was supposed to have Alan Scott.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The whole plus, they were doing something with Diggle and the Ring or whatever.
Yeah,
and that probably
and
not
like
going to
John
happen
Oliver.
either.
John Oliver said on one of John Oliver's episodes, he said, essentially, it's like they're burning it down for the insurance money.
Yeah.
So I feel like
That's kind of what they're doing.
what we're up against. But the DC universe is going to outlast all this stuff.
Oh, I know.
And
You hope.
I'm so glad that we have all of this just out there.
Nope. Agreed.
Yep. Oh, you know what would have been fun is Cyclone.
Yeah.
Oh my
What did I
gosh.
say?
Cyclone.
She was great in Black Adam. She was
Yeah. Did they
She
mention
was
Cyclone
really
at the
good in-
end? Did Shade mention Cyclone on his
No.
list at the end? No.
No.
that I don't.
I would have also liked to see Mr. Terrific, the new version.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
right.
Imagine that they probably
Yes.
backed off of Mr. Terrific because they used him so much on Arrow.
Arrow. I know.
Man, yeah.
Bummer.
Really, really
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But the
Okay.
jacket. The
Yes.
jacket that said
The
fair
jacket.
play.
Oh,
Can
I
we
love
not
that.
have that in real life? Can I not get one of those jackets?
of
Come on.
course. Look on Etsy, dude. It'll be there.
Well, I'm doing it right now.
Okay. All right, let's close up this sucker. So that's going to wrap up another episode of the Earth Station One podcast. Want to thank Joe and Kevin for stopping by. Joe, thank you as always, my friend.
Thank you.
Anything you want to shout out about, sir?
Just come check us out at the American Sci-Fi Classics track at Dragon Con in live action in just a few months. And on YouTube, we've got hours and hours of video panels like these, like the thing you've just watched. And well, Earth Station One gave us the idea to do that in the first place. So we're stealing all our good ideas from you guys.
If you do the geek seat, we sue. That's all we have to
Oh,
say.
okay. All right. Well, not yet. We haven't done that yet.
Okay.
We'll call it the Nerd Couch.
Oh, shut up.
But-
Shut up, you.
And if you happen to be on YouTube or in Gadsden, Alabama, and you like pro wrestling, I'm an announcer. And so
Worth
check
it
out,
there, folks. Worth it there.
Thank you. But find Spartan Pro Wrestling on YouTube, and that's where I'll be.
That is awesome. And Kevin, as always, thank you, my friend.
Always a pleasure, guys. Yeah, and you know where to find me, and that's right here on the ESO network. My show is the Flopcast, happens every week. Cornflake and I bring you a very silly, nerdy podcast. And also for ESO Patreon, since we've been talking a lot of DC Comics today, I'm also part of Earth Station DCU Classics, which is sort of monthly, not quite, but we do we dip into the history of DC for our ESO patrons as well.
Exactly. And if you're in the Boston area, you know, they have their own superhero. Central City has the Flash. We have a Kevin in Boston. So you might see him running by.
We have 3 Kevins in Boston.
Exactly.
A lot of Kevins in Massachusetts. Yes, too many.
Too many.
Yeah, too many. Only one of you will survive.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There
this
could
will
only
not
be
end
one.
well. This will,
There-
end
there
well,
will-
but it will not end well.
I foresee a quickening.
Oi.
Hmm.
Oi, oi, oi. Okay, and Mr. Mike, we've made it through another one, my friend.
We have, and it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to shout out about, sir?
Yeah, this past weekend, I also had it was my extreme pleasure to sit down and chat with some local guys that I don't see near enough of, especially with everything with the pandemic. And we're getting back to doing conventions, and it's great to see these guys at conventions, but who knows, you know, when the next convention will be and all that kind of stuff. So it was nice to just kind of sit down and talk to some local writers here. Of course, everybody associated with Earth Station One knows Bobby Nash, the award-winning Bobby Nash. And so he was one of them. Writer James Palmer and Sean Taylor were the other 2 gentlemen. And I strongly recommend seeking out their work. I'll have the links to their individual websites on our show notes, because they're all doing some really fun stuff. Just recently, I think 2022 was a good year for all of them with releasing books and such. And 2023 looks like a great year for them too. I've heard about some of the stuff that's coming up from them, and you'll definitely want to keep an eye on these gentlemen. So yeah, Sean Taylor, James Palmer, Bobby Nash, check them out this year.
Awesome. Couple different things. I am very, excited to announce that, Mike was just mentioning cons, that Earth Station One is going to be at con coming up. We are going to be going down to Florida in the end of February. We are going to be at Pensacon, and we have been approved for 3 panels, folks. That's right. We have been approved for a Doctor Who panel. We'll be talking about the 60th anniversary and how, if people need to get involved with Doctor Who, or what's going on with the series right now. But we also are going to be doing a Sandman panel, and then also an intro to podcasting panel. So we'll be there Saturday and Sunday of the show. So I'm very excited to announce it. So, schedules as they come closer and everything, we will, give you dates and times and locations as it comes up. But we're very excited to be coming to a new con right by you. So, and Pensacon is going to be big this year, folks. They have quite a few guests that are pretty impressive, including quite a few doctors for the 60th anniversary. So very cool to check out. And you can check that out at pensacon.com. Next time on Earth Station One, we are going to be looking at Interview with a Vampire. That's right, folks. The AMC series has ended for the first season, and we're going to be doing a nice review of that one. And we've got a great crew lined up already for it. So please check it out in our next episode. And as always, we love you guys, and thank you guys for listening and viewing up on YouTube. We do appreciate you guys. And, we couldn't do this without you. We want to hear from you. Please write us anytime, feedback@earthstation1.com. Remember, you could also find Earth Station One wherever fine podcasts are found. And now Earth Station One could be found in video format on YouTube. Please subscribe and tell all your friends about us. On behalf of myself, Mike Faber, Mr. Mike Gordon, and of course, Joe Crowe and Kevin Eldridge, thank you for listening to the Earth Station One podcast. We'll be back soon, and we will see you next time here. Peace and love, hug your loved ones. And you know what? Just enjoy yourself. It's January. Things are looking up. It's not that cold. Well, certain parts of the country. So hopefully, Kevin's cold. He's saying it's cold. Okay. So
a lot
he's
of
cold.
snow today. A lot of snow today up here.
Okay. He had to run through the snow, folks.
I
That's
did.
right. Yes. So, he was like the snowplow for Boston.
Mr. Plow.
Exactly. Look him up in the phone book.
Yep.
Take it easy, folks. We'll see you next time. Peace. And we are done. Boom. Yay.